What is the most ridiculous thing you've had to explain to a grown man/women? I wasn't very successful, but I attempted to explain this to him. Let me set the scene. On top of a mountain in Maui with a tour group watching the sunset, and I hear the guy behind me telling his kids the sunset's in the west, so that's the Pacific Ocean. So that side over there is the Atlantic. I laugh and turn around and acknowledge his hilarious joke. He was not joking, to which I reply, you know this is all the Pacific Ocean, 360 degrees around. He then rolled his eyes and kept talking to his kids. Poor things don't stand a chance. I had a moment similar to this, except I was the dad. I was waiting around a house lottery with my wife, regaling to her all my extensive knowledge of the fancy vehicles there. Of course, I don't actually know that much, but I knew enough to impress her. So eventually we come across this super fancy car with a badge I don't recognize. It's got wings of some form, kinda reminds me of Chrysler. I tell her all this, explaining that I don't recognize the badge, but it looks like a Chrysler. Must be a Chrysler. Then some dude turns around, looks at me, looks at the car, then looks back at me and says, it's an Aston Martin. With a look or what I can only describe as a mix of pity and disgust. My wife didn't care that I was wrong, and I played it off like it was no big deal, but secretly he crushed my will to live for a moment. That his false advertisement suit vs Time Warner wouldn't hold up, because they're not the ones that told him he was the millionth viewer to a website and promised him a prize. I had to explain to someone on our flight that there wasn't another little plane trailing us with our luggage when they looked out the window looking for said little plane. When I was tiny, I thought the luggage traveled all the way to the destination in those little cars they used to load/unload. I wondered occasionally why we didn't just ride in those little cars, since they got there at the same time, but I figured it was because the plane held more people. One of my best friends was 21, gorgeous girl, not new to the dating scene at all. One day she was complaining about her boyfriend to me. I really like him, but he keeps pressuring me for doggy, and I'm just not ready for that. Me, doggy? What's wrong with doggy? Doggy style is great. You've done doggy? Me, yeah. I'm not sure what the big deal is. You let him stick it up your. And that's the day I had to explain to my best friend that doggy style is not anal. I don't let her forget. I had a renter who was 19, and it was her first time living on her own. She didn't get that when you send a letter in the mail, you had to put stamps on the letter. It came back due to no postage. I basically had to confirm to her that she had to do this. Her response, it must be a Canada thing, because I never had to do that back home. She is Canadian from Quebec, but her parents sheltered her so much that she couldn't function on her own and thought Quebec and Canada were two different countries. I was 20 years old and covering the reception desk at a mid-sized law firm on maybe the 14th or 15th floor of a high-rise building. This attorney was apparently good at her job. From what I understood of her reputation, I didn't know her well, but this story often makes me wonder about smart and smart. On this day, as she exited the elevator on her return from lunch, she decided to voice what seemed to be a puzzle that stumped her for a very long time. I don't understand this building. Why is it, when I enter the elevator facing away from the lobby, I exit facing the lobby on the floor above? It's like the elevator turns around. I stared at her for a few seconds, contemplating time, space, creation, and the giant salary differential between our two positions, before I spoke the last words I'd ever say to her. Ma'am, you turn around to face the doors once you get into the elevator. You're facing the lobby when the elevator starts to move. She went out of her way to avoid me after that. That you should not wear your eclipse glasses while driving around during the solar eclipse. I have repeatedly tried and failed to explain to my coworker to not eat rotting meat. Sheila, leave chicken out on the counter all day to defrost B. Cook the chicken, and then leave the cooked chicken out on the counter for a week, and pick at it here and there. She is out with food poisoning at least once a week. I've never met someone who throws up as much as her and wasn't bulimic. She will eat her breakfast at 4 p.m. after it's sitting on her desk all day. Eggs with cheese and mayo that she picked up at 7 in the morning. Then she'll call in sick the next day. I have shown her YouTube videos of bacteria growing, sent her articles about the dangers of E. coli. She won't listen. She ate potato salad that was sitting in a hot trunk for 24 hours. She said it was liquidy and tasted weird, but she doesn't like how refrigerated foods taste. One day, when she is paralyzed from botulism, I guess I can say I told you so. To an office junior postgraduate in engineering, after checking his work. Me, in the English language, if a word starts with a Q, it is almost always followed with a U. Him, oh, yeah, what about croissant? Defiant smug stare. Me, sigh. That contrary to her belief, islands are in fact not floating, like big rubber boats. She was asking how with the wind and currents the islands still maintained their position without roaming the oceans like rocky icebergs. Edit, close the bracket. My boss hired an assistant for me from a strip club he had attended the previous weekend. He told her that she needed to pay attention to everything I did and then he would replace me with her. The things I had to explain / show her how to do: address an envelope, write a business email, read a contract before signing it, stay for the entirety of a client event, show up to work on time, not drink at work, not gossip at work, not have her boyfriend hang out at work all day, and more. Finally she became so upset at how much work my job entailed, and she hadn't touched the surface, that she quit. Had to explain to my maths teacher that you use both when referring to two things. If she was talking about 100 things she would say both of them and wouldn't take no for an answer. There was this girl in my French class. I had to explain that France no longer has a monarchy, that England and France are different countries, and that England and France do not share a land border. Couple of bonus stories about her. One time I was sick and missed school for a couple of days. When I came back she asked if I had the zombie flu. She tried to convince me zombies are real and that it is spread through the flu vaccine. Her evidence was a theory about the Walking Dead. Another time she said she wanted to be a heart surgeon. I asked her if she was taking biology because our school offers college level BO. She did not know what biology was. I might have told this story on Reddit before, but I had to explain to a lady how sliced bread works. I used to work in a bakery that pretty much only did bread, and a lady came in, and this conversation happened. Points at a bread. Do you have that but like, in a bag of slices? Me, trying to be polite, oh yeah, we slice the bread. Oh okay. But do you have it in a bag of slices? Me, yes we bag it, after we slice it. Okay but I really need this in a bag of slices. Me, we put the bread in a machine that cuts it into slices and then we put those slices in a bag. Okay but do you sell this same bread in a bag of slices? Me, let me show you. I take the bread and slice it for her and bring the sliced bagged bread back to her. She looked so excited you'd think she never saw sliced bread before. Yes. That's exactly what I wanted. Keep in mind that English was this woman's first language. She was just really dumb. I had a sort of similar funny situation where I was the one who didn't understand. I was a brand new checkout operator at a grocery store that also sells cigarettes. A man comes in and asks for Just Smokes. I ask him, what brand? Just Smokes. He says. I ask him if one of the more popular, cheaper brands is okay. Just Smokes. He says exasperatedly. I'm very confused. He seems to just want any cigarettes, but I don't know what to give him as obviously, cigarette prices vary a lot by the number of cigarettes in the pack and brand, and I don't know what kind he's looking for, nor what kind of price range he has in mind. He just keeps demanding Just Smokes. We go back and forth like that, and eventually he gets really annoyed and says that he'll just get them from another store. I'm very miffed and slightly upset that this customer screamed at me when he wouldn't tell me what brand or what size pack he wanted. All he would say is Just Smokes. Another customer who watched this go down reassures me that he's known around town as a grumpy old man and that I did the best I could. Later that day, as I'm restocking the cigarette cabinet, I come across a brand of cigarettes that I've never heard of before and one that a customer had never asked for before. The brand? Just Smokes. Sort of twisted on its head, but my husband had to explain to me relatively recently that South Africa is not, in fact, just the south of Africa. It's a whole other country by itself. I call it my bimbo awakening. I lived in Asia for a while. There were multiple people in both Asia and the US who thought that the western and eastern hemispheres experience opposite seasons, like the northern and southern hemispheres do. More than once, I've grabbed the nearest round object and started saying, pretend this grapefruit is the earth and this lamp is the sun. My casually racist mother asking why a black family in line ahead of us didn't go to their Starbucks. I had to explain to her, slowly and quietly, that this was their Starbucks. They live here. Among the white folk,